Welcome you all here today. Let me jump on stage. Thank you all for coming. We're going to start this up. My name is Joe Rubin. I'm one of the co-founders of Crowded.com. This is a lot classier than we thought this was going to be, right? We have like Scott Archangel playing on the piano, our professional pianist. That was great. Thank you for... Yeah, we're really upping it a notch this month. But I still get to do... Is anybody here last month? Anybody here for last month's thing? Do you remember my favorite thing to do? Anybody? It is throw stuff off the stage. It is... So, I'm just... I don't have a good arm, I'm sorry. Everyone only in the front row. You only get it in the front... Hold on. Let me roll it up a little bit more. I'm sorry. All right. And, all right, I got one more. Sorry. You're too close. I'm sorry. You'll have to back up, sir. That's not fair. That's not fair. Yeah, if you do get hot, we do have a coat rack out there. We have about almost 300 people in here, and that coat rack holds like 20 coats. So, yeah, first come, first serve on that. So here's what we've got going on today. Last month, we maxed out our place. It was a fantastic event. We are upping it a notch here today. We have almost 300 people here today. But what we want to do is continue with the amazing quality that we brought last time. We have some amazing speakers speaking today, some top companies. You guys have all saw it on the Meetup page. Everybody here has a Crowded profile, right? Everybody, raise your hand. You have a Crowded profile? All right, awesome. Make sure you keep that up to date. I'm going to have Mark tell you a little bit more about that in just a second. But here's how it's going to go today. So we have the panel discussion, where we're going to give you some advice from top hiring managers, moderated by my partner here, Howard Schwartz. We are going to have several of the employers that are in the room right after the panel come up and announce their job. So if you already spoke with Jamie and you told her that you want to jump on stage, great, we'll bring you up right after the panel. If you have not spoken to her, walk over, say hi to Jamie. Jamie, raise your hand. Hi, Jamie. All right. No. We will have those companies come up afterwards, network, hang out. I'm not sure if there's going to be any pizza left. There will definitely be some beer left. So hang out for a little while, network, and just mingle. In the meantime, Mark Roth, why don't you come up, tell us a little bit about the latest developments at Crowded.com.
Thanks, Joe. Hey, everybody. Great to see everybody here. So, Crowded.com, most of you probably already have your profiles. I just wanted to say a little word about the profiles because of the way Crowded works. We have you guys, the candidates, on one side, and on the other side, employers, of which there are also a whole bunch of employers here tonight. And besides the panelists, we have Jamie, we have, I think, about 15 to 20 different employers here that you could probably bump into on the floor here. So the way it works is you need to fill out as much information as possible into your Crowded profile, because what the employers do on the other side of the platform is they search for the type of people that they're looking to hire. And then they have the ability to reach out to you directly. And if you checked off that you'll accept a text, then you'll get an invitation to chat with one of the employers about a specific job. And then from that point, you could take it back and forth with the employer right inside the platform, or take it offline outside the platform. So that's really my point that I wanted to get across, is the most information that you could put into your profile will give more and more ways for the employers to find you when they're searching for candidates. So make sure you go in there, log in anytime, and fill out that information in the profile. We do have some really cool things because our tech team is constantly working on building more features into the platform. And one of the ones that's coming up soon are the actual job listings that you'll be able to see from all our employers. So that's going to be coming up in a few weeks, so look for that. So with that, we're going to hand over back to Joe.
All right, and I want to just say one quick thing. Mark gave you kind of the technical about employers logging in and contacting you and filling up your profile, and why we think it's important. But at the end of the day, it's actually really cool. We're a new company, so we have our development team just cranking away at this stuff every day. And the coolest things that we see at our company are when companies are actually reaching out and contacting you guys, the people that are signing up as developers in our database. It's the best thing that we do. Whenever we see that going on, we all we give a high five. We love seeing that. So when, we see it on the back end, we see the statistics, we see the numbers, we see them coming through. But if you have a problem, you have a question, you want to get in touch with us, you want to increase your chances, please reach out anytime. Contact us. You've all probably spoken with Ben Bot. Ben, the actual Ben, is here tonight as well. He's like a freaking star. Where's Ben? Oh, and by the way, one last thing. If you notice our ridiculously poor alphabetizing skills up at the front desk, we are hiring a head of alphabetizing tomorrow. That is our latest job opening. But I want to introduce our friend Steve Levy. Steve, we've known for like a few years now. He is a killer in this industry, and we are honored to have him here today. He's going to be giving a presentation. We just saw it. It's great, amazing numbers. So definitely watch this. So Steve, come on up. I'm sorry. Big round of applause for Steve Levy.
From ham to cheese. So, there we go, Jamie. That's close. This is going to take a few minutes. Bingo. Oh, cool. Okay, since I'm not 7 feet tall, I signed up for Crowded last week, I think it was, Joe. And I didn't realize it was Joe and Howie and Mark until I got deep into it. And I guess it's about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we talked about another venture. And we stayed friends. We met at conferences. And one thing led to another. And so I reached out to Joe and I said, what if I talked about, if you need me to do something, I'll do it. He said, fine, let's do this one. Here's a little bit of my background. I'm going to talk about tech hiring trends. Jamie? A little bit about me. I'm kind of an oddball as a recruiter, aside from the fact I look like I'm standard HR. Same thing here. I was joking. This is my. I'm going to put my hat on the HR way as opposed to the. There you go. I was an engineer for 15 years before I crossed over to the dark side. That would be HR and recruiting for you people. And in 2 years, I will have been recruiting for 30 years. That makes me a real glutton for punishment. No, there was a carryover period. And there's a story behind that. How you doing? I guess these slides will be made available to anyone. I'm sure on the Crowded site they'll be, or on the Meetup site they'll be there. So I'm going to talk about trends. This is how you get hold of me. Next slide, Jamie. The thing about trends is never let a trend get in the way of creating a great outfit for yourself. Anyone know, what's it, the London, the dress show? That's what this is about. Regardless of what trends tell you can and cannot do, ultimately at the end of the day, it's still up to you to make your own trend and decide what you want to do next. I like that hat, by the way. That's Fly. How you doing? Next. So what I did was, the problem with trends is if you look at 10 different trend surveys, you'll get 10 different directions on what the trend should be. So I'm going to present 3 of them here, and then I'll leave it up to you to make your own decision. This is from Computer World. We're looking at the hot skills for the next 12 months by no surprise, programming, app dev. Help desk is still critical because people that we support with our systems and software still have a hard time dealing with the systems and software. The third one is security, compliance, governance. Keep hold of that one. We'll talk a little bit later. Number 4, BI, analytics, data science, web dev, database administration. This hasn't changed in the last 2 or 3 years, with the exception of the cybersecurity stuff. We'll get to that in a second. Next slide. In terms of what's driving the hiring, like anything else, companies are growing. They're new systems, new projects. Many projects are internal. Anybody here working on internal systems for your company versus external facing stuff? I know it's a you who are internal people, but those are the systems. Those are the infrastructure systems, and no company can exist without good infrastructure systems. I think Amazon discovered that today. Oops. And so all these other security initiatives, again, 30%. I want to look at that security initiatives. How many people here are interested in cybersecurity or cybersecurity related stuff or hacking. That is hot. Most of a lot of friends of mine in the DC area are looking, I got it in 4 minutes, it'll go fast, are desperately looking for people who are doing that. I'm going to a show in July in Las Vegas, B-Sides, big hacker show that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. When the lights go off, that means we're almost done, right? Next slide. It is, I feel the love. What's hard to hire? Security. Just keep it. It's hard to hide because it's hard to define what it really is to most companies. I really enjoyed the mood lighting. Next slide, Jamie. In terms of the areas, if you look here in the Middle Atlantic, number 8, this is from Robert Half, another different survey. Net developer, network engineers, web dev, database developer, systems analyst. Depending on where you are in the country, those things change. That depends on the companies that are there. Next slide. Fastest growing industries. Here in the New York City area, fin services and healthcare, professional services, this is the mecca for all that here. It's not necessarily the mecca for pure startup and high technology, although the mayor would like it to be. Keep that in mind. Next slide. Which technology especially will see the highest salary growth? Security. That's the premium for anything cybersecurity. Still web dev, still software dev. If you're in the upper echelons, if you're more advanced, if you're particularly good at cloud, DevOps. Anybody here DevOps, site reliability? Write your ticket. Next. But I'm going to talk about my street trends. These are the things that I see. These are the final 3 sides. In the next year, we're going to see more automation in code testing. That gets the duh. Because that, how many people here do interviewing with their own company, are part of the interview teams? It's brutal, isn't it? It takes so much of your time. Outsource it to somebody else. I agree. More third-party assessment by humans. Believe it or not, there are quite a few new startups that are hitting the wire, in which well-established, well-experienced developers are interviewing other developers for companies. So, take the expertise and outsource it to somebody else. More show me during interviews. Finally, I hate contrived code test. Here's a problem. Show me what you can do. More interviewing for projects and performance. The careers, a career is now, in my opinion, 2 years in 2-year blocks. And that also jives with typical projects. So I don't know if anyone here is looking for a career. I stopped looking for a career a couple of careers ago. More movement for need once hire. How many people have ever been hired and once you get on the job, they switch you to another area? We're seeing more and more of that because of the internal movement at companies of existing staff. Next slide, Jamie. More hiring managers are recruiting. You go to LinkedIn. I've never seen more hiring managers, people with manager level hire, who are saying, I'm hiring in their LinkedIn profile. Managers see the need to do it directly for reasons which may have something to do with bad recruiting, which I'm not going to talk about here. Greater stack agnosticism. I don't give a rat's ass what you code in as long as you code well. There's not a single developer, single technical person, if you don't know one language or library or tool, you can't learn another. And that goes for old COBOL developers as well. Far more self-learning. I would say learn something new every week. Plenty of opportunities online for that. Getting close to the salary bubble. We're going to see the salary increase. It's got to end somewhere because it is unsustainable. And this happened, last time this happened was 2000, the internet bubble. Technology opens doors to the business careers. I'm guessing about 35 years from now, we'll not even be in technology, or not doing development or technology related stuff. You'll be on the business side, whether it's moving to project management or systems analysts or something else, or maybe even HR or recruiting. You never know. Next. These are the trends that really, really excite me. And these are the ones that we're going to see a good deal of hiring in. AI, machine learning, virtual augmented mixed reality, digital platforms and Internet of Things, massive hyperconnectivity that jives with NASA. Look at those. Digital twins with all the processing power. You can now model cool stuff that would normally you couldn't model. Writing software for that, the hardware for that is still hot. Adaptive security. In the last election, we see a lot of issues with security. Customer-centric platforms, it's all about the customer, because if they're happy spending money, they'll spend more money. And that is why business takes place. Finally, Jamie. If you don't like where you are, move. You are not a tree. You are not wedded to the company that you're at. You are not wedded to the group that you're in. If you don't like where you are, nicely speak to your manager or HR, find another place. And above all, get to know everybody here. Because in all likelihood, your next few jobs are going to come from people in this room. Finally, questions?
Yell it out loud.
You mentioned security. How much of an obstacle it can would be to a security-related job to not be able to get security?
It all depends. Not all security is. There's a company, for example, in Ann Arbor, Michigan, called Duo Security. They're one of the leaders in two-factor authentication. Security is not necessarily working inside the NSA and doing this homeland, carry Brody type stuff. So yeah, there's plenty of security without security. Go there's a great look at any hacker forum, and good hacking. Help me out. Ethical hacking.
Actually, that's all the time we have for questions. There's a typo. It's supposed to be question, not question. Sorry about that, Steve. Thank you, Steve Levy. Thank you very much. By the way, if you did not get one of those fancy t-shirts that I threw out earlier, at the end of the event, these lanyards are surprisingly very expensive. And we're going to collect them and reuse them next time. So we have a pile of t-shirts which were less expensive. So on the way out, drop your name tag in and grab a t-shirt. And now I would like to introduce the CEO of Crowded, Howard Schwartz, who is currently handing out waters. Howard Schwartz, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
If I can get our panel to come to the front of the room.
Yeah, if all of our panelists can join us in the front of the room, that would be great. And the CEO title means that you do hand out waters, and I have to clean up everything at the end, too. So, awesome. So, jump on stage. Actually, we have an order. So Lindsay, Benjamin, Michelle, and Natalie. At our last event, I had Google sitting where Foursquare was, and we had to do a little musical chairs in the middle. So I'm going to try to get it right today. So I always use the same pun every event. I say it's pretty crowded in here, which was a good name of our company. So people ask, why we selected the name Crowded. It was the only sort of English word .com that we could afford at the time. So that's actually where it came, and it's we have, so why don't 2, 3, 4, yeah, so that, I'm not going to sit, so why don't you, no. Prefer not to sit. So please, if there's any employers in the room who have not checked in with Jamie, who at the end of our panel would like to make an announcement about an opening for a development position, please see either Mark, Joe, or Jamie, who's in the back by the AV table. So if you could just come up, sort of towards the ends of the panel and introduce yourself to them, we'd love to hear about your job openings. Awesome. So thanks again, everyone. As Joe mentioned, this is our third meetup. The first one, we actually shoved literally 100 developers in our small office. Then we got smart and we did it in a larger space, which we completely outgrew, and now we're here. So again, this is a pretty phenomenal space. I was not expecting the acoustics tonight. So let's jump right in. So I'm going to ask each of our panelists to just introduce themselves and maybe a minute about your company and what you do there, and then we're going to get right into the moderated panel. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Holmes-Glogauer. I work at Sailthrough. I've been a recruiter for about 9 years now. I started on the agency side as well, and quickly went over to corporate. Worked at a lot of different places, startups to larger companies like Spotify. I'm back to a smaller company at Sailthrough, and I lead technical recruiting there.
Great, thank you, Benjamin.
So I'm Benjamin Chung. I'm from SoundCloud, technical recruiting partner there. Been in the game for about 1 to 2 years or so. Prior to SoundCloud, I was at a Series B, CRE tech company doing biz ops, which basically means they just threw anything that they wanted to me. So I started doing like marketing, sales operation, started learning about Salesforce and Salesforce administration. Then I came to a point where I realized I need a little bit of direction in my life, so I ended up doing tech recruitment at my next role, which is pretty cool. And yeah, SoundCloud is pretty much an open platform, really enabling everyone to discover new music and for creators to reach people all around the world. It's pretty cool. Chance the Rapper gave us a shout out at the Grammys. That was really awesome. And yeah, it's pretty much the overview.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I work at Meetup, so I'm the senior technical recruiter there. I've been in recruiting for a few years now. Prior to recruitment, I was in writing, so I kind of found my way into recruitment because of a passion. Prior to Meetup, I was at Amazon, working on the Amazon Echo and working on V1 products. So I kind of went from large company to small and kind of seen both sides of the market. So I'm really excited to share some information with you all today.
Thank you. Natalie?
Hi, I'm Natalie. I currently work for Live Intent, which is about a 200-person, I would guess, later stage startup doing people-based marketing. I started on the agency side and then worked kind of larger in-house. So I was a recruiter at eBay. Now I'm working at a smaller company, so I've seen kind of the spectrum as well. I started out as an opera singer, so this is actually my kind of stage. So
wow.
For any of you that are doing kind of a career change, I've been there and hope to impart some information that might be interesting for you.
Great, thank you. So you're going to sing one note for us.
I was about to say, can we hear an hour?
Just one note.
One note. Wow. Not very interesting, but one note.
I can't, I'm not even going to try. So awesome. Okay, well, thank you again. So we're going to try to keep this interactive. I believe Jamie sent you some questions. We're probably going to throw them out and come up with some new ones, so I hope you didn't prepare too much. For some of the questions, I'm going to ask an individual member of the panel. For others, I may ask the whole group. So we're going to mix it up. Let's see, who should we start with? You know what, we're going to, well, Natalie's going to have to go first after that beautiful note. So the first question is, and this is a topic that is really kind of fascinating to our team over at Crowded. The majority of the developers tonight and the majority of the developers in the Crowded platform are what we would label between junior and intermediate developers. And one of the issues that we see in the market today, and I think it becomes a difficult pain point for candidates in general, is they may apply for a role that says junior developer, and then it says on the bottom, oh yeah, you need 9 years of experience and a PhD. So that necessarily doesn't make that a junior developer role. So I'd love to start with Natalie. We'll go right down the panel. Just give me a really quick definition of what you consider a junior developer, please.
I think a junior developer is 1 to 3, 4 years of experience. I guess 4 is more intermediate. So 1 to 3 years of experience. It also depends on what kind of background you're coming from. If you're coming out of a master's degree in computer science, you're going to be at a different level than somebody that just had boot camp experience. So even at the junior level, there are different kind of gradations and different considerations. I think that's a general description for us.
Great, and we'll go right down the panel.
Sure. To add to yours, because I don't want to be redundant here, also thinking about junior developers, they haven't had a chance to actually lead a project yet. So kind of thinking about the lines of maybe it's not the years of experience, maybe it's something that you just haven't led a project or haven't mentored other engineers.
Cool. So to just go off of that, in terms of what we do at SoundCloud, we kind of have like a leveling system where it's based on what you've done, and it really takes into like a consideration a lot of different things. It's not necessarily your years of experience, but it's, what you've done. And we have a pretty solid process where it can kind of showcase your ability to essentially do something, as well as conversations that happen with the hiring manager as well as the rest of the team. That's usually what we do to kind of define what level you're at. We've had people who had like 7 years of experience, but maybe they didn't quite have the kind of mentorship or worked in the kind of environment that we are, who come in as like a level 1, while we have other people who might be people who come from non-traditional backgrounds but have killer mentorship in what they do, and they come in as like a level 2, just based off of that.
Great, thank you. You get the last word on it.
Yeah, that's actually really awesome. I think most places don't do that. I would say that junior probably means 0 to 2 years of experience. So people coming right out of academia. And regardless of whether that's undergrad, grad, PhD, I think it kind of all levels out. When you're looking at companies where you're going to go in and have to write production level code, and you haven't done that, you are junior. And I think, okay.
I think that's an interlude for another song. Basically,
Yeah.
when the lights go down, we'll
But
sing.
that's kind of my take on it. That's what I've seen at small companies, large companies, kind of across the board as a general rule of thumb for defining junior.
Great, thank you. So by a show of hands, based on sort of the broader definition of our panelists, raise your hand if you'd consider yourself, a junior developer. Let's put them up proud. Great, so I'd say that's 85% of the room, Mark? What do you think? Mark's better at math. Oh, you're filming? Excellent. Intermediate developers, raise your hand. Great. So yeah, I'd say at least probably 90% junior developers then. Great, thank you. So again, we're going to mix it up a little bit. I may call on one specific panelist, and then again, it's as a conversation. So we encourage you to disagree with each other, or especially you could disagree with me, as everyone else usually does, and then we'll kind of continue from there. So I guess maybe Michelle from Meetup, you mentioned that you previously worked at Amazon, a little bit of a bigger company. But first of all, we should thank Meetup. Everyone say yay Meetup, because we're all here tonight because everyone registered on the Meetup platform. So it does work, which is awesome. So maybe a little bit about what it's like for a candidate. Maybe if you put yourself in the shoes of a junior developer, and what it's like to go through and interview and work for an Amazon versus more of a mid-sized or later stage company that isn't yet public like a Meetup.
Yeah, I'm slightly biased because I'm at Meetup now, but there's the pros and cons of any company, large or small. Not each, every single company is a little bit different in terms of structure and what you're going to get out of it. Our interview process is fairly similar in the sense of just logistics of how many rounds you go through. So essentially you go through a technical phone interview, which is normally 1 hour, and there's some real-time coding that happens in that first phone interview. And then that usually moves on to a full day of interviews, which is an on-site meeting with 5 to 6 engineers, maybe some from HR, maybe someone from a product side or design side. And I think the major difference when it comes to the on-site process from a large company versus a smaller company like Meetup is that you're exposed to really pushing on to the culture, the things that you care about, the mission of the company. For us, we're very mission focused. At the same time, we care about technical evaluation. We want to know who we're hiring, not just what you can do. And so in terms of just kind of it's not necessarily an apples to apples comparison, but you should either way, whether it's a large company or a small company, you should know what you're getting into. So that recruiter, whoever you're talking to or whoever that first point of contact is, should be telling you what to expect ahead of you. So if they're not giving you that information, that's kind of a red flag, and really dig on that conversation then further.
Great. Any other comments from the panelists? Anyone who's worked at maybe a larger company and kind of contrasted to a small to mid-sized company?
You're asking about interview process specifically, or the work?
Maybe the work. Let's talk about the work maybe.
Yeah. So I can speak on that. I think that just. And very generally speaking, I'm kind of trying to talk in generalities as much as possible, but I think that, part of the sell, right, of working at a smaller company is ability to have more impact. So smaller teams, bigger projects, you get to work on a bigger piece of something as opposed to, many more teams working on a larger project or product. So I think definitely, exposure to things, you kind of learn a lot more, I think, because you just inherently have to do a lot more at a smaller company because there aren't as many people. So it's more of an all hands on deck kind of situation as opposed to, the Googles and Facebooks that have thousands of engineers working on things, and maybe you're only working on a small piece of something larger.
And having been at eBay and now at Live Intent, I think another thing that I see is smaller companies tend to move more quickly. just because if you're working on a project, and like you said, it tends to be a bigger piece of the overall pie, there are fewer other pieces to kind of work with. And so in a larger company, your little cog in the massive machine, you have to work with 15 other teams, and you have to wait for them to finish something that you then need to integrate with or use as a tool. And there's a lot more red tape just because there are a lot of processes in place and a lot of people to keep in mind. So, and smaller companies with fewer people and often fewer processes, things tend to be a little bit maybe less stable feeling. There's less rules in place. Oftentimes you're actually offered the opportunity to help shape the culture, the way things work, offer up more of an opinion and actually get it higher up the chain so that people can hear it. You're not likely to talk to the CEO of eBay or Amazon or Google, whereas in a smaller company where your CEO is sitting right next to you, he can lend his ear. So those are a couple of the other differences, I think.
Great, thank you.
I think it's the difference of like the fail fast, environment versus the more established, like we've got time, we're not going anywhere kind of environment.
Great, so we're gonna go back to Natalie, we're gonna come back this way. So at the last meetup, my question was the opposite of this one, and I don't think Mark liked my last question. I asked for each of our panelists to share, an experience that didn't go well. I basically said that, someone on the intake looked great, they passed, with flying colors a coding challenge, whatever it was, and then within 90 days, I think everyone realized that it wasn't the right hire. So we're going to take it from maybe the more positive side today. So maybe if you could share either a story about maybe a recent hire, or maybe to frame what you'd love to see, again thinking about junior developers on what sort of a great from sourcing all the way through onboarding experience for you would look like at your company.
Do you want a success story or do you want a process?
Success story. Yeah.
Okay.
And it could be generalized a little bit, or it could be Fred. Either one.
We had a recent hire that I think is a really great guy to work with and a lot of fun. And I was just talking to a coworker how it was kind of an unlikely hire maybe, just because if you look at the profile of this person, he had a computer science degree and then he went and decided to be a concert pianist. And for 2 years, he played the piano. And then he decided, for whatever personal reasons, he didn't want to continue pursuing that. Tried to continue his career as a software engineer without having any previous real-world experience. And it's not necessarily the likeliest of candidates in terms of just looking at a resume, but somebody that really sets a goal for themselves and pushes and says, I'm going to practice every day. And I understand that sometimes you want to play Mozart, but you really just have to play the little arpeggio over and over and over again. And it's the same thing in coding, where sometimes you want to build this huge thing, but sometimes you just need to take it step by step and focus on the fundamentals. And that kind of attitude really translates. And the passion for really persevering and following a goal, that kind of personality is really great to have on a team. And, he's a great member of the collective, and we're really happy with the hire. And it's maybe not the likeliest on paper, but we're really thrilled to have him.
Great, thanks. Michelle, and we'll just run straight down the panel.
Sure. I think my answer kind of combos from your previous question, but our last one that sticks out to me the most, I think really kind of bridges the gap for leadership too, as well as kind of this cultural contribution. And this person saw opportunities that were needed at Meetup and just ran with it, which is also kind of going back to larger company versus smaller company. If you see an opportunity and there's a need for it, you can just run with it, which is something that I really appreciated working at a smaller company. But this person saw an ability to create more of an inclusive environment and started creating basically task forces around that, and really starting the conversation, an active conversation around that with respect to tech, and started really advocating for more of an inclusive environment, which is something that really matters to us, and I'm sure with all the companies sitting up here too, in terms of technology. But just to see someone see that opportunity, run with it, as well as influence other engineers and other non-technical people, said something is that they're contributing not just to the code, but to the culture and really caring about their teammates and their well-being.
Great, thank you. Benjamin?
Cool. So kind of a success story of a person that hasn't started yet, but essentially how it went. was that talked to a person on the phone. Phone call went pretty well. Honestly, I have no idea why I was on the phone with her in the first place, because looking at her resume, it's not the kind of resume I honestly would probably have spoken to, but ended up being on the phone with her. She had a really great personality, really eager to learn, everything like that. So kind of threw my hands up in the air, and I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna send them the coding challenge. So I sent her the coding challenge. She did really well on it. Our tech lead reviewed, and he was like, yeah, all around solid coding challenge. And for us, we're working on the JVM, so we're using a lot of things like Scala and functional programming languages and stuff like that. She did her coding challenge in Node, so not a functional programming language. But kind of to Steve Levy's point, it's not really about what you're specifically using. It's your ability to show what you can do. If you show that you're using good practices, for us, we always look into testing, good testing practices. We'll talk to you, and did well on that. So from there, got thumbs up, flew her out to New York City from San Francisco. Pretty much not wowed, but did pretty well on the actual interview stage, considering what the team kind of saw her as in terms of like level coming in. And I think this was a really interesting scenario for us, because for most of our roles, they're typically like more mid to senior level roles, and this was someone who literally, out of college, they went to a boot camp, and then they had a computer science background, then went to a boot camp to like learn a couple skills. And from there, went into like a teaching assistant position. So this person hasn't exactly shipped production level code. And for us, it became also a conversation, which I think any good company should do, is that, do we have the capability to onboard someone who's junior and actually support them in the way that we want them to be supported, and we want them to essentially succeed and grow within the company. And so went through a couple of different conversations, from the overall team to like the hiring managers to like the hiring manager and VP, and eventually decided we're just like, we're going to make the commitment, we're going to do it. We want this person to succeed. We got the things we needed to do in place for that to happen, and yeah, she's going to be starting within the next couple months or so, which is pretty exciting.
Great.
I'm going to very quickly piggyback off of what he just said. I hired a UI engineering manager last year. That role had been open for several months before I started working on it, and ended up hiring a fantastic engineering manager. And just to kind of, I guess, level set, being able to hire junior people, and why my example is not hiring a junior person, it's hiring a manager, because he now gives us bandwidth to be able to hire junior people. We have, really good management in place to be able to do that mentoring, to be able to do that onboarding, so that we can bring in a more diversified, in terms of experience, level of engineers.
Great. So I heard the term boot camp come up a few times. It wasn't on the question list, but one of the things that happened at our last panel, it was Nick from Google was actually talking about how Google's starting to look at and successfully look at boot camp grads. So how many candidates or developers in the room? Raise your hand if you completed or are currently enrolled in a boot camp project. Raise your hand. Wow, what is that? 50-ish%? Great. So, so if there's any panelists, I won't go in a specific order, that maybe your company looks at boot camp grads, or if you don't, that's perfectly fine too. It'd be great to kind of hear, some of the way that you frame that, and maybe either sort of the pro or the con behind it. And again, any order you guys wish, just jump in.
I can give an example. When I worked at Spotify.
Great.
So during Spotify Hack Week, me and 3 engineering managers decided that we wanted to try to figure out a way to support hiring junior people. We were kind of in this very stagnant place where we were only hiring mid-level to senior level people. No one was considering hiring anyone out of a boot camp or anyone right out of college. So, except for previous interns, we would do that. So we came up with this idea to create an incubator. And basically what it would do is we would have people apply and create kind of a simulated sprint team, right? So we would have, anywhere between 8 and 10 people come in for a 16-week program where they would have agile coaches, they would be mentored, they would work on real stuff, and have to produce something by the end of that. You weren't necessarily hired at the end of it, but you had a lot greater of a chance of being then hired full-time by Spotify and getting placed on one of our production teams. So that was one way that we kind of created a workaround for it, because we saw there was a huge problem with trying to bring people in who were making career pivots and doing all of this work to try to become software engineers and creating places for them.
Thank you. Any other feedback on boot camps? And it's okay if it's negative. Not every company will hire from boot camps today, so it's okay on both sides.
Sure. Just to piggyback off of your point too as well, we do hire for boot campers. We applaud there's a pivot in your career. I mean, you did it, I did it, and I think at the same time, it's telling your story as to what kind of influenced you to pivot. But at the same time, thinking about all the hands that were raised in here that were boot campers or previous boot campers, the projects you're working on, you're probably working on similar projects like the rest of in the room. So when you're thinking about building your resume and portfolio, the projects you do in school, unfortunately, can't just be it that you put on your resume, because of how many other people might be doing the same project, whether successful or not. That's definitely something you can talk about, but I highly, highly encourage that if you are a boot camper, and I know the conundrum of you need experience to gain experience, and that's an unfortunate thing to hear, but building your own personal projects on the side in between while you're finding an internship or finding that full-time role is so important, because now you're differentiating yourself from the rest of the boot campers. So thinking about personal projects that are not about, it's not a poker app, it's not something very simplistic. Thinking about something that you're excited about, because that's going to tell us more about who you are, and that little just insight into who you are and how you think could definitely take you from being just another person on a resume to potentially getting a phone interview with an engineer or with the company itself.
I'm just going to add to that. Every single person that I interview for an engineering role, whether it's coming out of school or it's an engineering manager, I ask them what they do on their own time. And this isn't something that I came up with. All of my engineering managers want to hear whether or not someone is just going to work, clocking in, doing the project, even if they're doing it well, doing the project and then going home, or if it's someone that's passionate about technology. They want to know what's coming down the pipeline in terms of the newest, the greatest, the most interesting. If you want to keep yourself in the loop, if you want to constantly be improving your skills, you need to be coding. If it's on the weekend, if it's in between, even if you're already employed, that doesn't mean you should stop working on your own stuff. It's how you keep abreast of changing technology, and it's moving so swiftly. It's the best gift you can give yourself, and it's the best thing you can do, like you said, to differentiate yourself from all of the people that are coming out of a boot camp or school and have just done the same projects as everybody else that's there. On the subject specifically of boot camps for us, we found that we're really looking for strong computer science fundamentals, an understanding of databases and architecture. And oftentimes the people that we interview coming out of a brief 12, 16-week boot camp, they just don't have enough experience to be able to speak to all of that. And so it's not that we won't look at people out of boot camps, it's that oftentimes we find that the brief amount of time that boot campers have spent with technology is just not enough to really give them that breadth and that depth of knowledge that even just a 4-year computer science degree can, which isn't to discourage people from applying. I think it just goes back to, don't just rely on the boot camp, go and find it yourself. Computer science fundamentals, and I've heard this from every hiring manager I've worked with, from agencies, from when I was at eBay. It goes back to, we don't care what language you code in, we want to make sure that your fundamentals are solid, and from there you can learn any language you need for any project.
I think it also goes back to the issue of bandwidth. and certain companies just not having bandwidth to train someone up. So to kind of fill in that gap of, what she's talking about with CS fundamentals from the boot camp to get you to that level, a lot of companies sometimes just don't have bandwidth to train. So it's not even a matter of like they don't want boot campers, it's a matter of like we can't do anything with them. We can't help them get to the level that we need them to get to in order to be productive for us. So sometimes that's what the issue is as well.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's interesting. I mean, not so boot camp. I recently just hired 2 people who, one of them was like an activist in his previous life and went to he had an awesome mentor, whatever he taught him, it was awesome. Came in, wowed everyone, it went really smooth. So, someone's from not a traditional background. Another person I just hired was like a scientist who solely got into like software development. Not so much a boot camp, but he also learned really great practices from some consultants that went into his practice to help like set stuff up. Just because you're from a boot camp doesn't mean it's kind of like starting fresh. Like any kind of college grad too. It's going to be a grind. It's not going to be easy. You're going to go through a lot. You're going to hear a lot of no's before you get to even one yes. And it's just not giving up. There's mad studies about there just about kind of like positive psychology stuff, just about optimism, how more optimistic people are more likely to succeed. Martin Seligman, awesome dude. If you like positive psychology, read up on that. But yeah, it's not easy. It's going to be a grind, and you just have to kind of commit to kind of going with that.
Great. So we're going to start with Lindsay. We're going to go down to the left. I don't know if I'm mixing it up enough, but too hard to start in the middle and break. So a red flag. What's the one thing that everyone in this room should not say to you on the phone or an email? And it could be a very specific thing that kind of blew up a process that was actually looking pretty good to start, or something a little bit more general.
I can think of 2.
Two's good.
Put me on the spot. I can think of one that's a red flag for me, and one that's a red flag for engineering managers that I work with. So for me, I can think of I always like to find out why people are interested in talking to me. What is it about my company? What is it about the job? Did you just randomly apply? It tells me a lot about, your general interest and enthusiasm. And I like to know the story of, why are you leaving if you're leaving someplace? What is that story? Big red flag if it's super negative in an interview. If you're bad-mouthing your company, if it's like, this is the worst place, they just suck, everything was the worst, my manager was horrible, and that's like the worst thing you can say in an interview. I mean, even if that was the case, lie. Like, lie to a recruiter. Like, in an interview, lie. Like, I mean, not lie, but you know what I mean? You can't be so honest about it, right? You want to try to make it sound, it wasn't a good culture fit for me, or, there's ways that you can kind of soften it a little bit, so that it's not such a negative. That's a red flag for me. And then I think as far as engineering managers go, I would say, I forgot what I had a point and I forgot it. I think I don't know. Yeah. My point was lie. It wasn't lie. Don't take that away.
Don't get caught lying.
I didn't
That's
say
the other
that.
one. Don't get caught lying on the interview.
Soften the truth is what I mean to say.
Be a good liar. Is what we're saying.
Don't be a good liar. That's
diplomatic.
A red flag.
Be diplomatic.
I didn't say it.
Let's start over here.
Yeah.
Great, Benjamin, and we'll go straight down.
Yeah, I think one thing for us, not necessarily like something for junior candidates, but it's just overall. Yeah, can I go with the line thing? Don't bullshit. It's we've had people who come in who are like in senior positions who just tried bullshitting their way through certain things, and our engineers picked up on it pretty quickly, and they were just like, we don't care if you don't know it, just just don't blatantly lie to us, which is I think was like a total red flag. With that comes like kind of the ability to learn. For us, since we are kind of our engineers have pretty strong testing practices. Not everyone has the same testing practices, but we do realize when people are able to like pick up on that, be responsive and be aware of what people are saying. Pick up on the hints. During interviews, people will drop hints that kind of nudge you to a certain way, and just be aware of that. Pick up on those. and kind of go with those. Yeah, what else is there? I think one thing too is just kind of communication skills throughout the interview. You can have a quirky personality. We love that. We love all the quirkiness and what everyone does. But it comes to a point where sometimes that quirkiness might come across as kind of like communication issues almost. If someone can't see you working on a team or working closely with like a product team, and there are issues that come about in that regard, it's kind of a hard thing to work through because in an interview you usually have like, I'll say you have one shot because you always kind of like reapply again. People can always change, get better, but it's your shot at that time. Just be conscious of what you're saying and the way you're communicating things. And I think one thing that we always look out for is understanding kind of personality types too. Not everyone's going to be an extrovert and out there. Even if you're introverted, you can still essentially communicate points across. But yeah, I think that's it.
I thought of mine.
Go for it.
Engineering red flag. In an interview process with an engineer, always be flexible. Sometimes you are not right. Sometimes you are going down the wrong path, and an engineer might be trying to give you hints. Take those hints. It is a red flag if you are not willing to take feedback in an interview. I've seen it time and time again where they've said, yeah, I was trying to redirect to this person and they were just so, inflexible and wanted to go the way that they were going because they thought they were right. And that ended up resulting in not hiring the person because they thought, well, we can't work with someone like that. We can't work with someone who's not willing to say they're wrong. So that was one.
So for Michelle and Natalie, we're going to go a little bit faster because I wanted to do one more question. And Joe over there is yelling at me and saying, don't do another question. It'll be quick, I promise.
Joe, thank you.
What I would say, if you're in an interview process and you think you've nailed the interview, and all of a sudden they go, do you have any questions for us? And in your mind, you're like, I nailed this. I don't have any questions. And then you say, nope. That's a red flag for us because it shows that you're not naturally curious about the company. You're not naturally curious about the person you're talking to. And we get it. Interviewing is not easy. It's kind of a skill in itself. But just having that kind of realness in that moment of, yeah, I'm actually curious about what you do, or tell me a little bit more about XYZ thing I read. That's just lie a little bit too. If you don't have a question, just come up with something on the spot, just so that way you can continue the conversation, and that way they get to know you back as well.
Awesome, Natalie.
Plus 1,000 on that.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, a great go-to question if you can't think of anything else. How do you like working here? What are your thoughts? It completely passes the ball to us, but it shows us that you care about the culture, the place. It just really takes the onus off of you, but it's a great question to ask if you're at a loss. One thing that I would say is be nice, and that, it seems silly, but we get nervous during interviews, and so we get, like some people talk really fast, and some people, you remember that they're judging you as a person, someone to talk to on a daily basis, someone that they're going to, potentially want to grab drinks with in an after hour. So, it's not just your coding ability that's being judged, it's your team and culture fit. And that starts with, if a recruiter reaches out to you, hey, wanted to know if you're interested in this role. And I get people responding, how much are you paying for that role? And it's like, God, can you please pretend you're interested in the job before you ask me how much I'm going to pay you for it? Like, it starts with just the very, very beginning, talking to a recruiter. If people aren't nice to me, then I'm not going to put you forward to the hiring manager. And I've had people, I ask a technical question, and they say, oh, well, I can explain that to the engineers. And it's like, if you can't respect the first people you're talking to, we're just as important for culture fit screening. And I think sometimes I've seen engineers forget that, and that could lose you an otherwise great opportunity that you could be very well qualified for.
All right, so before Joe yells at me, real quick, how many people in the audience have taken a coding challenge? Raise your hand nice and high. So how many people felt that it was comfortable in the amount of time that it took you to take it? Most people. So raise your hand if you thought it was just way too much of a time commitment. So very few. All right, so it seemed like most people were comfortable with it. Just real quick, where is the coding challenge in your process? In like one sentence, so Joe doesn't yell at me. Is it like
we're actually trying to figure that out. We're trying to figure that out. For people straight out of school, zero experience, we're talking about actually having that be the first step. And it's just because we have such a high influx of really junior candidates, and we'd love to give an opportunity to as many as possible. But we'd actually love feedback from you guys, because if you feel like doing a coding challenge up front is a lot of commitment without much commitment on our part, we want to make sure that we're tailoring our process to make you guys excited to come work here as well. So we're actually trying to feel that out as well, and would love to hear.
Michelle?
Yeah, it depends on the role. So if it's an internship, usually it's after speaking with a recruiter. So you get this kind of cultural assessment, and then we move into the coding challenge. If it's a full-time role, for example, for mobile, it will be after speaking with an engineer for more of an abbreviated phone interview, and then we dive into a coding exercise. So it really depends on the role and then what leveling we're looking at.
Great. Benjamin?
Our coding challenge is after the recruiter call. So yeah, it's pretty kind of long coding challenge. So, after the call with me, I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want to waste our, engineers' time kind of reviewing it if for whatever reason during the actual recruiter call it's not a fit.
Great. Lindsay?
We just got rid of ours, so we no longer do coding challenges. We found that, yay. Yeah, we just got rid of it. We're trying to do our interview process without the coding challenge, so we'll see how that goes, but it just didn't seem like so it felt like we were losing candidates because they didn't want to complete the coding challenge, and we assume that they're interviewing everywhere, so we have to compete. It enables us to move faster without doing it also, so yeah, we just started it.
Awesome. So I have no more questions, but we're going to ask each one of you to share maybe an open role that you have that would fit with maybe some of the junior developers in the room. So we're going to start with Lindsay, and we're going to go straight down. Is that okay, Joe, or are you going to yell at me? All right.
Thanks, Joe.
So, thinking a junior role.
Or it doesn't have to be junior. It could be any role that's top of mind.
Well, actually, there were some people that were interested, I think, in DevOps. We have an SRE role open, so we are looking for someone to join our site reliability team. It's a little bit different than I think at other places because it's very, very heavy in production code. So our SRE team does a lot in our actual product, and so it's not just about they keep things running, but they also get into the weeds of the production code as well.
Great. Benjamin?
We're looking for mobile developers, so iOS and Android.
Great. Michelle?
For entry, our junior developers, we're looking for an Android role. For those that are mid-level or senior above, we're looking for backend, which is Java and Scala.
Great. Natalie?
So we're looking for full stack engineers to build our advertising platform, people-based marketing, and so we're looking for someone who's going to be working with Java, Scala, PHP, Node.js, Angular. Everything we have is in the cloud, so AWS. It really depends on the specific team, and what we do is we hire engineers and then allow them to choose which projects they want to work on. We have self-organizing teams, and so it'll really depend, but full stack developers, we don't differentiate between front end and back end. It just depends on the project you're working on at the moment, and you go in and go and learn.
Awesome. So I wanted to thank our panelists. We'll give them a round of applause. So what we're going to do now is, because I know everyone wants to meet you guys, and we have a lot of other employers going to come in, so we're going to ask our panelists to go or you want them to stay? Okay, because everyone's going to mob them otherwise. Okay, so I want to introduce Mark Roth, and Mark's going to ask any of the employers who previously registered and spoke to Jamie who wanted to share a role. If you are not on Mark's list through Jamie, just come over to this side and see Mark, or come over to see Joe and let you know if we have a spot for you this time. So thank you again.
Thanks, Howie. Thanks for the awesome panel. So yeah, what we're going to do is take a few minutes and invite some of our employers up. So if you've registered with Jamie, please make your way to the front of the room. So we're going to do that for about 10 minutes, and then we have the space till 8:30. So after that, you guys can hang out and network with each other. So that's what we're going to do. So is James here from Jesse James Creative? Come on up. And for the employers, less than a minute each.
If you guys can start making your way towards the front of the room over there, please, that would be great.
Hello, hello. Okay.
right, so we are working on a next generation content management ERP system, looking for full stack folks with specifically Laravel and JS.
Thank you. Melanie, ROI Strategies.
Hello. So one of the problems we've been having with our clients is obviously cybersecurity, securing their networks, especially when they have products that they're selling online, and making sure that people can check out their credit card and make sure that it's all secure. So we're really looking for people who have that cybersecurity experience. We're also looking for full stack developers who can work with two-factor authentication, so like anything with SAP management software, making sure that their sales orders are tracked back to their QuickBooks from Amazon, eBay, or any other type of sites. Just cross-wiring the data to their management software on the back end, and their logistics is really important to them, making sure the tracking numbers are integrated so that they're pretty much automated. You know what I'm saying? Automation is a huge thing that most of my clients are looking for. So anyone who has that type of experience is always welcome to come to me, and I'll exchange my business card with you.
Thank you. Tara from Throttle.io.
Hey, my name is Tara from Throttle. We are a data onboarding technology company. Right now, we're really looking for a couple different roles based on the data side. We're looking for big data developers, Hadoop, Scala, Java, app development, as well as DevOps roles. If you come find me, we'll connect and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Tara. Mo from Nielsen Marketing Cloud.
Hey guys, so most of you guys probably don't know what Nielsen Marketing Cloud is. We are the startup/innovation department of Nielsen, a 140-person company based in Flatiron. I'm looking for site reliability engineers and solutions engineers. We're a Python JavaScript shop, but language agnostic. We don't care for degrees. I'm hiring a guy straight out of high school, has been coding for like 10 years. So if you're good, we'll take you.
Ray from CBS Radio. Come on down.
Hello. We are looking for a senior backend engineer. We still don't have the whole details, like from what we're looking for, because we're just going through a merger. However, this opportunity is actually based in San Diego, unfortunately, but we will have more opportunities coming up shortly.
Thank you. Tanya from Triple Lift.
It's Taina, like hyena with a T. But hi, I'm from Triple Lift. We're an ad tech company here based not too far away. We are pretty much like changing the visual web by creating in-feed advertisements that are actually respectful to the end user. So right now we're really reinvesting in our engineering team, and we have quite a few openings. A lot of them are a bit more senior, like a senior backend engineer. They kind of pose as data engineers as well, working with Java and Scala. But some of the positions that may be interesting to you guys are solutions engineers. It's a great gateway. We have hired from boot camps before for our solutions engineering team. And then also we're looking for an ad experience engineer working primarily with like vanilla JavaScript. As well as our full stack engineers that are working with Angular and PHP. So I actually have my head of engineering here with me, so he can probably dive a little bit deeper with you. So if you're interested in ad tech, come find us.
Thank you. Sarmeet from InspireAv.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sarmeet from InspireAv, and we are one of the top 8 fintech companies that have been named by American Banker and South by Southwest to be having a lookout for in 2017. And we are an Internet of Savings platform. We help people in their purchasing decision by changing the outlook on how they can buy. Instead of telling them, here, swipe in your credit card and go into debt, we say, save for it. We'll provide you some additional discounts. We'll provide some patented technology to help you reach your goals faster. And with that said, I have my CEO here amongst us. And one of the fun things about being an InspireAv is we are fast-forward enough. Like just last meetup, I was on that side. And today I'm here representing the company itself in this very crowded meetup. So if you are looking forward for a career where you can really progress really fast, come look at us after other companies have spoken, and I look forward to meeting you.
Thank you. Sheila from CAC America. Sheila, okay, here she is, okay.
Well, I don't, I didn't. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared because I didn't know how to speak, but we don't really have a developer position at this moment. We might in the future. I'll just give you a little background about my company. It's called CAC America Corporation. What it is a Japanese IT service provider. It has an office in Japan and a branch office in Midtown Manhattan. The recruiting arm of our company is called Takumi Jobs. They're separate, actually, websites, so it's a bit confusing because if you go to CAC America, you won't see jobs. You have to drill down to kind of the lower third of the web window where it says Takumi Job and click on that, or just go to takumijob.com is where you can see our positions. Thank you.
Matt from Order Groove. Here he comes.
Hey everyone, I'm Matt, lead recruiter for technology and product at Order Groove, e-commerce SaaS company. We're actually responsible for building the world's first subscription enablement technology platform and network. Recently just acquired our level C series of funding, well past the boom or bust stage. Looking forward to having some fun with and speaking to all you guys. But right now we're actually looking for a couple of strong junior software engineers. More on the back end side, we, again, just to quote on the tech agnostic side, we are looking for anyone who is strong with any good back end skills, whether it be Ruby on Rails, Java, but we do work with Python. That's our mainframe backend network. But I'd love to speak to you more about all the great things that we're doing and talk to you more about it in depth. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. Kelly from Bloomberg.
Hi guys, I'm a tech recruiter at Bloomberg, a big data and analytics provider for the biggest players in finance. We have opportunities in all aspects of the stack, from front end to back end, SRE, DevOps, machine learning, you name it. So definitely come up and speak to me. Full disclosure, the majority of our work is C++ backend, JavaScript front end, but we're totally open to speaking to people from different domains if you're willing to pick that up when you join us. Thanks.
Thank you. Sean from UN Global Compact.
Hi, thanks. I'm with the United Nations Global Compact. We're a corporate sustainability initiative. We ask companies to join and be sustainable and embed principles in how they do business for the environment, human rights, and so forth. We have, for the 15 years that we've existed, been using vendors for our IT services, and we're trying to build in-house a small, lean, mean team. That's what I like to call it. The vendor that we're working with plays right now the senior developer role in Ruby on Rails. We're looking to bring in that senior role as a full-stack developer using the Ruby on Rails and Ember.js front end. We do have a junior or intermediate level in-house, so it would also come, this role that we're looking for would also play a mentor role with this particular individual and then additional individuals that we'll look to hire later in the year next year.
Thank you. Quentin from Software Guidance and Assistance.
We are looking for a Java Scala developer, as well as Java C++. A big initiative we're going through right now with companies right around the corner from us is Java Big Data. It's a big move that we're going into, headed up. We're an IT staffing firm based right in Terrytown, with work with anyone in any domain, going from there. So I look forward to meeting you all.
Deborah from the Credit Junction.
Hi. The Credit Junction is a small business online lending platform, a fintech platform, and we are actually revolutionizing the way small and mid-sized businesses access to capital. And since we're growing and growing, we're hiring and hiring, and among the tech and product hires we're looking for is a senior software engineer, DevOps engineer, product manager. Well, there's many. So if you're interested in working at the coolest fintech startup in Manhattan, just go to www.thecreditjunction.com. Scroll down and just click careers, or just email me, jobs@thecreditjunction.com. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, our very own Andrew Jensen from Crowded.com.
It's going
Guys, as you guys know and heard today, we have a lot of different opportunities through our platform with a lot of different employers being able to see your profiles and seeing what you're working on and stuff. But one of the major roles that we're actually looking for internally is back-end engineer, software engineer. We're looking for somebody who's got a lot of experience with databases that can help everything under the hood move a lot smoother. So anyone that has particularly PHP backgrounds, and also a lot of database background with MySQL, any type of any of the major SQLs, it would be very helpful if you come and apply for us at Crowded, and then you can help us build a platform that can help lots of millions of users find new jobs. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. So we're going to wrap things up. I'm going to bring Joe Rubin up to do the honors.
All right, so just a couple of quick housekeeping things. So one, remember, name tags in exchange for t-shirts, do that upstairs. We love to recycle these things. Number two, I love feedback. I love it. I love feedback. Well, actually, I love good feedback. I love only good feedback. If you're angry in any way, email Ben. If you love this, if you had a good time, hit us up, email us. We have all these social media things that we spend a lot of time signing up for. So go on there, write something nice, put some good pictures on there if you took any pictures tonight. Go to meetup.com, on our meetup page, leave 5 stars, leave some good feedback. If you don't leave 5 stars, if you leave anything less than 5 stars, Michelle's gonna go in there and edit it for us and make sure that it's 5 stars, right? So,
Or you can email Ben.
okay. And while you're on meetup.com, check out our schedule. We have a few upcoming events. We're going to be doing these every single month. I would say by the summer, we're going to be at Jet Stadium. We're going to keep growing this. It's going to be nice. Lastly, I feel like whenever I go to one of these events, I always like to leave with one really good tidbit of information, one good theme at the end of the day. So if you know this one, maybe yours is the same theme as mine, so feel free to shout it out. But I would say that in an interview, lie, right? That's the theme for tonight.
Be diplomatic.
I think that's it. I think we were just kidding, but in the meantime, enjoy, have some beers, have some pizza, network, feel free to meet with some people. We will see you next month. Thank you so much.